Burlee and Abel, thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you for
Yeah.
having us.
So a little excited to get to talk to you because I am actually doing this interview from Madeira. I live
Oh
in the Central
wow,
Valley,
we're
and
Fresno,
Fresno,
California.
born in. Well, I'm not born there, but I wasn't
Uh,
born there, but Abel was. But
but we spend the majority of our
yeah,
lives
our
growing
lives
up
in
in
Fresno. So
Fresno.
we traveled that route between Fresno and Sacramento, like.
Well, yeah, Fresno and here and LA a lot.
Yeah.
And between Fresno and Sacramento
In
too, again.
Sacramento, and so because that's we
Yeah.
passed through Madeira, um,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
familiar with
all the time. So, yeah.
it.
yeah. I wasn't too familiar with your work, but and then one of your shots, you guys had the Fresno PD, which is something I'm very familiar with because I'm a news photographer in Fresno. So when I saw that,
Nice.
it quickly raised an eyebrow and said, "Wait, these guys have to be local." So we're here to obviously talk about your new feature from Shudder. They live in the gray. Tell me a little bit about the film.
Yeah. Let's see. Um,
it's a horror film that we've been, I think working on for quite a few years, and it's the character Claire, is inspired by, our mother. This is a story that actually, really,
it comes from a very personal place.
yeah, yeah.
For us, this we had a third brother. His name was is Tom, and he passed away about a week after his birth, and Abe and I were really young at the time, so we don't really have any memories of that of that event. But our parents they sort of suppressed that.
We never talked about
We
it.
never talked about it,
Mhm.
and I think being in an Asian family, a lot of times you don't talk about your grief, so it wasn't until like
just a few years ago that we actually
3 to 5 years ago that
Mhm.
we actually right before COVID that we actually um, talked about it and went to see his gravesite
for the very first time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
and seeing our parents
be able
especially
to
our
like
mom,
face that grief and to
let it go,
Yeah.
to unburden yourself with this, this grief that she had been carrying on for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And
so that's sort of where They Live the Gray is, that's what's that whole thing is what inspired They Live the Gray. And
in fact,
the character of Claire, Claire
her clothes that she wears in the movie, a lot of it is straight out of our mom's closet.
Wow.
She's kept everything from I don't know who knows when
she hoards.
So those pieces of clothing came from like the 80s and 90s that my mom had in her closet. So I mean, she still keeps them.
So in some ways, Claire was sort of embodying our mother.
Yeah.
So I read somewhere that you guys are actually very close to your parents to the point where they're on set with you for filming and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So when you brought up this film, is it something you guys talked about with her before, and how was that received?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was she was very open to that idea. Of us basing the story around the grief that our family sort of suppressed and shared throughout the years. And so I think in a way making this movie was sort of a it was cathartic for us in some ways.
And our parents, they our whole family actually, they're very involved with what we do. Anytime we come up with a concept, well, we share it. We try to get feedback every time we write the script. With every script we've written, like family members would read it, give us feedback. And so even on the set of They Live in the Gray, like our mom was on the set.
She cooked on one of the days.
She decided, hey, I'm gonna cook on one of the days so that your cast could just have some of Mama Vang's food, right? And I'm like, that's great because my mom's a great cook. And then if you've seen the very beginning of the film where
Claire is hanging in her house,
our dad actually, he has a construction background, so he's like, you know what, you're trying to hang somebody, let me go to Home Depot and I'll be right back. So
he built this beam.
He built it all
where we could rig it, and she she's hanging from it. So
and at first we're like, Dad, are you sure? And he built the whole thing. He set it up, and our stunt guys
was
came,
like, it's legit. It works.
This is great. Like this is really good. And so our parents, like they
are very hands-on. Yeah,
very super involved. Yeah, with what we do. Yeah.
Wow, I bet a lot of people wish they can have that kind of home cooking even on set to kind of relieve that stress.
Yeah.
So in talking more about Claire, then she's played by Michelle Krusiec. Tell me what maybe the relationship that she formed with your mom, and or the direction that you guys gave her, and just overall your thoughts on her performance.
Yeah, we met her, in 2013 at the LA Asia Pacific Film Festival. We sort of hit it off then. We kept in touch over the years. But when we had the script, we asked her to read it, and then we went out for lunch, and we were surprised that she said yes. We were thrilled that she was
yeah, we knew that she had that she had the ability, and it would only be her that could pull off what we had written in this character, and we were so glad that she just said yes to it. We went out to lunch and we said, hey,
we knew that for this role we needed someone who had the range, and the commitment to be dragged through just the different emotions that you see throughout the film, and we knew that Michelle was the person for this. And so and what we have now, I think our film, the success of it is the final product is we sort of owe it to her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't imagine anyone else we both wouldn't imagine anyone else in that
being able to pull off what she had done in that role.
Because the success of the film really has to do with her being able to emote those emotions, to be able to show that grief, show that pain, and show that she's holding it in and trying to not necessarily let it out. In so many scenes you can really see that it feels almost thick. and she does a very, very good job. So another thing I wanted to talk about, because this was something that was very important to both of you, me being a Latino, sometimes for me it's important for representation and not being seen in a very stereotypical way. Now with your film, They Live in the Gray, it's an Asian American story in the horror genre that is very appropriate for what people go through here in the United States. You talk a little bit about it?
When we first wrote the script, we went out to various different production companies and studios, and when it came down to the casting, we said, hey, we would love to cast Asian American leads, and we had a lot of pushback. And in fact, a lot of folks said, hey, if you reconsider your casting choices, then we can talk and we can move forward. But if not, then we don't.
Then it's a pass. It's simply based not on the story,
not on the story, not on the script.
But based on us wanting a Asian American leads, and so that was the thing that kept getting the script passed from place to place. Because the thing is that if you just look at the story itself, it doesn't explore anything particularly Asian or Asian American, right? And so that's how the script was written too. The characters had no last name, no last names, and so you would assume that anybody could play these roles, right? But so then when the companies and studios that had a chance to read the script, they said, hey, we want to make this. The moment they asked us about who we saw in the lead roles, the moment we said Asian American, that was a no for them. And so for us, we purposely wrote the script, and not have it examine anything Asian or Asian American, because we want.
And it's really kind of sad too. Like this is not like 1948. This is we're 2022 now, and when you just look at the success of all the movies that are led by persons of color, you look at the Asian American led or Asian led films, and even like you said you're from the Latino community. Like you look at Encanto, you look at all that, the Emmanuel Miranda, all that they're doing. It's like, wow, like there's a lot of success, in diversity.
But I think one thing is that like we tend to only get those roles where the story is uniquely about our culture, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so for us, what we wanted to do with this film
Yeah.
was that, hey, it's a horror film where anybody could have been in the lead, and yet they just happen to be, a person of color. And so for us, it's great to have films that, that champion culture and diversity, but it's also great to champion diversity in films that have nothing to do with culture. So
Mhm.
that people could be in any,
Could be cast in any role. Like for example, like if it's an end of the world movie, like why can't
I want to see a Latino or
Latino,
an Asian guy,
save
fighting
us,
aliens, or
save us from
dinosaurs, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't want
Yeah.
people to like make movies and say, hey, let's write in that Latino character, let's write in that Asian character, right? No, I just want that character to just be able to in the casting you could just put anyone in that role,
Yeah.
But oftentimes we don't get that. We tend to get
typecasted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the default setting for a lead is usually a Caucasian actor or actress.
Yeah.
Now,
So for us, this only was to sort of like challenge that.
Yeah.
mhm. So how frustrating was that for you guys having to kind of
Very.
go back and what kind of conversations did you guys have between yourselves, and was there ever maybe thoughts on going a different direction with it, or how, what was that process like? It seems it would be very
We said,
frustrating.
we said, we got together. We said, you know what? If we can't make this movie, then we're probably gonna walk away from this industry.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
Either we make the change or we walk away
Yeah.
because
we
can't wait for people to do it for us. You can't wait for some some high profile producer or some studio. At the end of the day, like people in our position, directors and writers,
it's incumbent upon us to
we have to risk it.
Yeah, to be the change. And like we told ourselves, we'll just take this script to the grave and just leave this thing entirely if we can't, do it justice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, yes, it may be tempting that, oh yeah, just sell it off or do this and or just change this one bit and then your next one you can do what you want. But for us, it's like, no, if we truly believe in this, we do it now. There is no, okay, let's give in and then do it later. There's no later.
Pigeonhole you to,
No, like
it's
either now or it's never. And so I'm so glad that we were so adamant about that. And
otherwise this film would have came, I believe that, this film would have been out, years ago. Had we went with what people were telling us, but the day, I'm glad that we stuck to what we believed in, and we still believe that, and we're still going to continue doing what we do, to tell, stories with, diverse casting,
That's so wonderful to hear that you guys are about making your art. And well, lo and behold, here we are. We're talking about it. It's going to be released on Shudder, and it's been a wonderful platform, which recently has had quite a bit of feature focus on diversity with their documentaries and some of their feature films. So now you're next in line to be part of that movement. So being that this is a horror movie, I want to know, what are some horror elements that you guys wanted to make sure to include in the film?
I mean, I think for the horror elements, we when we were developing the story, we had two processes. One was, okay, what are the big, like 6 to 8 horror scenes that we could think of, so that every so often,
every 5, 15, 10 minute, like you're gonna see the scare is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Sort of the formula for our formula for making a horror movie.
And when we had the same process for the dramatic moments too. And so it was about finding those few dramatic moments that Claire was going to go through, and also the scary moments.
And then you sort of like, you mesh them together.
Yeah.
And you try to make sure that the narrative runs through everything and that they're not two separate movies. And so for us, it's like finding where the grief becomes the horror.
Yeah.
Where there's a marriage between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you notice in the film, a lot of the ghosts, the spirits, right? They sort of embody what Claire embodies emotionally as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the grief that ties everything together, that bridges I guess, her life to the horror.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, her grief ties in with the kind of the emotional grief and maybe regret that some of the spirits have, and I felt like it really, that's what made them come out to her, the embodiment. And I don't want to give up any more of it because I need to be quiet because it has a good progression that you need to enjoy while watching the film. It's one of the tough parts of this job is watching the film, talking to you guys, and then some of the impactful moments not being able to talk about it, but just enough to get people to get into it and enjoy the film. So one of the big questions I want to ask you too, being that you guys are from Fresno, we all know, well, and people who are not from Fresno are familiar with the area. It's a very diverse place. You have people from all over. Specifically, you have a big Latino community, have a big Hmong community.
Yes.
And so for some of these young, talented individuals who are looking to become filmmakers, who are looking to rise above and really stand out, kind of like you guys are doing now, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Oh, I think when we were in Fresno, we would spend our weekends going out to random places and filming horror skits. And we just grabbed a bunch of friends together, and we did that like almost like every weekend. And it became a more than just a weekend passion that we were doing. We thought, wow, like
the more the more you do it, the better you get. And
yeah.
So I think it's sort of like try to find that core team, trying to move beyond, saying, hey, this is just a hobby. You really have to like, put in the work. You're not gonna get paid for it, but you're gonna do it anyways because you love it, and you keep on doing it.
And Fresno, I think, is the perfect place to shoot horror stuff too, because Fresno is like a town, and we always talk about Fresno this way. It's like a town that got frozen in time.
Like, you go to downtown Fresno, like architecture, right? You have like a lot of like, you have things that's sort of like Art Deco. Then you have like,
and if you travel Blackstone from all the way from up north down to like downtown, like much of Fresno has, because I've lived there like before moving out to Los Angeles, like all my life, born and raised, and like nothing has changed, and everything looks the same. And in a way, I think when you're trying to, a lot of times when we're trying to make a horror film, it's always about trying to find that town or that space or that place that you can't really pinpoint what time period it's from. And
I think Fresno captures that.
And yeah, it does. So
that's what we wanted for in the of the Gray. We wanted to, for an audience to not know where in time this film is taking place in, so parts of it look like, it may have happened in the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, I mean, maybe even right now, and so for us, we wanted that sort of atmosphere. I think, there's something terrifying about that too. And so we're like, I think Fresno can give us this atmosphere, so the film in a way it is set Fresno. We didn't shy away from the words Fresno. You literally see Fresno in many of the
and
a lot of shots that we
a lot of exteriors were captured in Fresno.
Yeah,
but sort of like an alternate reality Fresno.
Yeah, I do a lot of night shots in downtown, and that is a terrifying place to be at 11 o'clock sometimes. But yeah, you're right. It definitely gives you some different places with the right aesthetic. And then if you need even like a broken down barn, if you need a country setting, you just go right down also the street. So you got a little bit of everything. Hopefully, we should see more horror movies coming out of this area.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Burlee, Abel, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you both.
Oh yeah, same here.